Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast. Pub Chat. We're back in our favorite Irish pub, BD Riley's here in Austin. I'm El Presidente. I got group expert Julian Lane here today, and I just want to. This is as we're gearing up towards the World Cup. We're going to bring you some new episodes with some special guests as we work our way into the World Cup and as the club teams take a break. And today we have such a special guest, a close personal friend of mine I've known for a long time, Ishmail Elfath. You guys out there may know him. He's a FIFA level referee. He just was named MLS Referee of the Year for the second time last week. So congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, cheers. I'm gonna drink to that.
I had my water on it already.
That's right. And for for Liverpool fans, you guys may recall that we won the Club World Cup in 2019, and Ishmael, you did the semifinal of that over there, and that was with Flamengo. And so I think a lot of the Liverpool fans will probably recognize the name. So we want to welcome you to our podcast, and Julian, I think has a question ready for you.
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, I think first of all, getting this essentially job at the World Cup, amazing. I'm sure you're excited about it
And I'm terrified too.
and terrified at the same time. But I guess on that point, what are you most excited by, and what are you terrified by as well?
Well, it's the dream of every referee to reach the World Cup. Judging that probably a fraction of the percentage make it to the World Cup, it means a lot to me and everybody that helped me get there. Friends, family, mentors, colleagues, organizations. So it's a responsibility to go out there and represent everyone. And many of those people are here in the Austin area that helped me with that first assignment, that first game, that first, so it means a lot. That part is exciting, making my family proud, making my kids, be proud. That part is really exciting. Me as a professional, as a practitioner, as an athlete, as a competitor, you feel that, achievement. I've made it. The challenge with that though is in the nature of a competitor, at least me, you cannot just go and participate. You have to go. You have to, just like every team. I don't think any team, any coach you ask them, I'll be happy to go participate. They're going to tell you that they have some goals. So I'm excited about the fact that I would have the opportunity to reach some of those goals in terms of the number of games, etc. What you're terrified about is just like any performer is, will you do well? Right? Is something unpredictable going to happen? Is something out of your control going to happen? Of course, it wouldn't be normal for me not to be worried about that. But then yet again, we're pretty confident in our preparation. So it's good to have it. It's healthy to have it, but it's not anything that I'm worried about.
It's good that you. I like that you bring up the competitiveness as well, because sometimes from afar we're watching the sport, we're watching the footballers, we're watching the games, but you don't realise the referees are competitive at the same time. Referees want to do a good job, right? They don't want to be the person in the spotlight necessarily, but they want to look back on the game and say, okay, yes, I made the right decision here. I was happy with that. I'm going to learn about this and move on to the next game. But
Well, I can attest that even in the offseason, Ishmael takes his profession very seriously. We live in the same neighborhood, so I'll see him running around the hike and bike trail all the time. And I was like, you go! And just a little background, Ishmael and I, we've known each other for a long time. And, you know, I've ref some games in the past, but I think you made a cognizant decision about 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, to quit playing because he's a very accomplished player. And made that decision. I'm going to use
Very, very hard one.
yeah, because I can't quit playing yet, even though I should probably if you ask some of the friends. But you made that kind of decision that this was the pathway that you were going to pursue, and then you went for it. And really, it's culminating into invite to the World Cup this year. But you also did a U21 the World Cup final a couple of years ago, and so I think this has just been a natural progression from afar and as a friend to see your professional progression. It's been great.
Yeah, no, thanks, Steve. It means a lot to go out in the neighborhood and see that people, recognize that there's a third team on the field, and now they ask questions. They're curious, and I intentionally tell them about the exciting things, like, hey, this is a full time job, by the way. Hey, it pays this much, and I'm not shy because it's a public figure, right? Hey, you can visit 30, 40 countries within a few years of refereeing. You can make friends all up. It's probably, true that almost any major city in the U.S. have someone I can phone up and say, I'm coming up, let's meet up. So you learn quite a bit, and it's an exciting journey. But the competitive nature of it is something that not everybody's aware of. To give you an example, right, Steve? There are about 400,000 referees, registered referees in the U.S., right? And there's 6 or 7 of us that are FIFA ranked, and one is going to the World Cup, right? So filtering through that, you have to compete just like everyone else. And for those of us that are competitors, we like it. We like to compete.
When you did that final, the U21, right? U21,
U20 under 20
U20.
World Cup in Poland, yeah.
How how did that make you feel? Because obviously that's such a great accomplishment to do any major final, and to to do that one. I don't think you get the notification a couple of days before the game starts that you're going to do
Yeah,
it. Are
yeah,
you
yeah.
nervous? Were you nervous to do a
I
big
mean,
game like that?
you go to a tournament, right? At the beginning, there are probably 30, 35 referees, and you're just trying to do one game at a time. Can I get a game? You probably maybe guaranteed your first game, but then after that, you have to perform to get the next one. So for me, you have to remember we're from CONCACAF. We're not from UEFA, right? So the expectation is you're not the top. Let's be real, right? You're not the top. The top is someone from a big soccer nation. So we go in there, me personally, but I know my colleagues from MLS and from Mexico as well, right? They go in there with a little bit of a chip in the shoulder. That's something to prove. We are a soccer nation. I do know the game from the gut, not from the book. I do know the stuff that only comes from playing in the streets, right? So those are some of the things that I think over the last few years, CONCACAF referees had to prove, and we did because I'm not sure everybody keeping up with stats, but a CONCACAF referee, if you look at the World Cups from the top all the way to the youth, under 20 and the 17, men and women, the CONCACAF referees have done more than half of it. All right. So yes, we go in there with a little bit of something to prove, but I think we have proved that. Now it's what's the next level?
I guess that's similar of the pathway of the American football player as
Right.
well, right? So that perspective, that outside perspective, like you always have to be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, fitter, um, to just be equitable, to even get to equal footing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
totally understandable.
Yeah. Absolutely. Part of it.
So the big question, the most important one, and from what I've read, because yeah, I did a little bit of research as well, VAR, right? Of course, it's going to have a massive spotlight on it, like it does every game now. That it seems to. You officiated one of the first, if not the first one, that involved VAR. How was that experience?
Back 2016. Yeah. I mean, everything was. Let's just call it the cake was not baked yet. It was
Say
still,
the cake that was not.
it was not baked yet. I was in the room where we're talking about how do we signal to the world that there's a review, and we were
Yeah.
like, my dad played rugby, and
Right.
I'm used to this. I told him, why we do this? And others had that idea because they were from England, but I can tell you that there were other ideas, right?
Well, some countries are still just putting the ingredients together. They don't even have the cake in the oven the way they implement their VAR. It seems so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So VAR, for me it was I was lucky. It was a privilege to be part of that initial phases of testing. And you're right, it's going to play a major role, but our goal is for it to be not talked about at all.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I think in Russia 2018, generally the football world would say that VAR was successful. There was no major
So that's a good.
controversy.
You bring that up. That's a good point because I remember that World Cup, and I remember the controversy going into it. I remember that
First time.
this is going to be a problem. Big
Right.
games are going to be decided by this.
Right.
It's not going to work. And there was barely any incidents. I don't remember.
Exactly. That's
And
what we want.
that's how it worked.
That's what we want as officials. We want you to go, oh, there was VAR, yes. Well, I don't remember it.
I remember it.
Just like our job. I don't want you to remember me doing the game either.
Right?
That's our goal. But look, it's a tool, right? And like any tool, it's only as good as the practitioner using it. And at the World Cup, FIFA selects the best of the world. The idea is for us to use that tool wisely and properly. And the threshold has been set by 2018 as to how now we have to do better, even better. Better means don't use VAR unless it's absolutely necessary and come out with the right decision when you use it.
So when you look at that, and maybe you have already, will the referees going to the World Cup, maybe it's up to yourselves, is that something you will look back on how it worked back in 2018, how it wasn't spoken about, and maybe how we can continue not to speak about it? And then take into account like the different leagues around the world, etc., and how it works in some leagues, and then in other leagues, I won't say which ones, it's spoken about nearly every single weekend.
Yeah.
It's a major incident.
Yeah. Football have passion, so and we want passion, right? And when you have passionate fans, you're going to get passionate reaction.
Yep.
No one is going to deny that. Look, I think for VAR, right, for us, we've been, of course, we watched the 2018 World Cup. We've been, for those of us that have been in the World Cup cycle, as it's known in the refereeing world, that started right at the end of Russia. The World Cup cycle for 22 started, meaning the pool of referees, the tournaments, the seminars, the selections, and VAR has been a big part of that. Every training session that we do involves VAR, including the fitness sessions. You run, and you stop by a screen, make a decision in the heat of the moment while you.
But you have to. Every game involves VAR at all moments.
So FIFA really have invested a lot, and kudos to them because keep in mind, right, guys, that not every referee that's at the World Cup uses VAR, or at least has used VAR like we had in the US and in the Netherlands, right? The very early nations. Premier League, only 2.5, 3 seasons. We've used it for 5. There are people that have only used it for 1 year. So FIFA, right? Osaka and our chairman, Pierluigi Collina, they look at us like a team. You're coming into a national team. Now I have to bring everyone to the same page. You play in England, you play in Germany, you play in South Africa. Now you come into the national team. I have to get everyone on the same page. And that's what we do. We've been doing that for 3 years. We have another 12 days or so when we get there to do that, so that there's no inconsistency. And they've proven to be able to do that in Russia.
You brought up a great name, Collina. So
the
boss, growing up in England, an Italian 90, and I mean he was the referee that everyone knew. Right? Even the players knew. I remember watching the World Cup and the European Cup games he was refereeing, and players didn't question decisions by that guy. Like if he said something, okay, yes, yeah. So how does that as well? Like obviously you don't want to necessarily be intimidating. You want to be like, you want to be a boss as well. You want to be like, okay, this is the decision. This is something that I know is right. How difficult is that? At the moment,
if you step back and really look at it, people remember the moments that are where a referee shows strong personality. But almost every referee has that in their arsenal. What's hard to have then is the counterbalance where, can I smile later on? Can I tap a player on the shoulder and say, hey, good shot, or maybe I missed that decision? And referees at the top level, like Collina and others, they have the ability to have that wide spectrum of management. That's what, I think if you look him up, you're going to see an equal number of pictures of him smiling versus him commanding some attention and respect.
So it's not just the eyes. You see, he's smiling.
Exactly. Well, right? What people don't know, right? And I'm happy to share is Kalina was a good referee not because of only his personality. His preparation was of the top level. Preparation leading up to a match was of the top level, and that's what I don't think people realize that how much it takes for a referee to be ready for a match, properly be ready for a match. It's equal, if not more, than what a team has to do. They have to study one team. If you're coaching Liverpool, you're playing. They just say, "What's the last team you beat?"
Napoli.
Napoli.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Leeds, but I didn't say.
Oh
If
man!
you play Napoli, right? You guys studied Napoli.
Stop
They looked
recording
at
this
film,
now.
They've looked at film. They studied all of that, set pieces, long balls, who fouls, etc. We have to do that for two teams.
Which makes complete sense, and you would think like the knowledgeable fans, and I would say the majority of fans don't. There's not much insight into referees, which is it can be seen as a good thing, it can be seen as a bad thing as well, because sometimes you look at it as okay, they just show up for the game, they oh I'm refereeing this game this weekend. What time is my bus there? Right? And they show up, they do it. But I think more insight to referees' preparation, I think would be. Would be a good thing. But you talk about preparation, right? Which is key. Um, can that sometimes hinder as well? Like if you look at the teams that maybe you're refereeing and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be refereeing these two teams, and you see there's a player
Right.
on one of the sides that's notorious
Right.
for be it diving, talking back to the
Embellishment.
referee, embellishment. Just can that sometimes play into your mindset? Like if you see that player and maybe throw a box and then it looks like it's a penalty, but then you see which player it is,
Yeah.
and you think, oh, hold on a second.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, right? For those of us that have been around this game, we've come to learn that yes, there are stats and reputation, but you referee the moment in front of you. So a player that's, let's just say, known to go down softly, that moment that you have, he didn't. And it's not an excuse for you not to be there and not to see it properly and judge it properly. So yes, it does pose a bit of a challenge, but I think it's like any other coach or player that's preparing. They study everything, but they study and they say, here's the likelihood of what will happen, but I am ready for anything that might happen. That's the threshold. You have to be ready for anything. And that's how we we keep that on the level.
Even a crazy streaker running across the pitch.
Oh, we've had that.
Oh
yeah.
We've had that.
Hey, we had mentioned Kalina, another top referee, Howard Webb. He came over to the United States.
Another boss. He's
What's
my,
that?
he's my boss.
Well,
Yeah,
he's going back to
the
England,
boss.
right? So, what you counting the days that he's not your boss? But obviously a top level referee coming to United States to help the program. Can you kind of just give us some insight on what he was able to bring over the to help the referee pool here in the United States, and just how did it work as well as U.S. soccer wanted it to work?
Yeah. So the referee team, you'd hear me refer to the referees as the referee team. Like any team, really takes the personality and the work ethic and the philosophy of its leader.
Okay.
And Howard, for those of you that knew him as a practitioner, as a referee, is a person that really puts his heart and soul into his craft. He's done that. That's why he was successful in the EPL, in the UEFA, and then eventually in the World Cup. And to answer your question, that's what he brought. He brought. So Pro was a young organization, about 5 years into its existence. By then, less than 4 years when we came over. So yes, we started down the path of professionalism, but then there was another level, and Howard brought us into that next level, professionalism. Whether it's how you prepare for a match, how you psychologically prepare for dealing with tough situations off the field, dealing with disappointments is a big one, right? We quote screw up. We make mistakes. How do you recover before the next match, right? There was a lot into it that Howard brought, but I think the biggest contribution that I think the world of football, at least here in North America, will give him, and now it's recognized even across the globe, is that he successfully implemented VAR in a way that was accepted by the stakeholders, by the world of football here. And I'm talking about owners, coaches, technical staff, players. Yes, there's the occasional decision that people don't agree with or create a little bit, but generally, VAR implementation in Major League Soccer is a success. That's what we're told whenever we go to international tournament. We don't have any big, fiascos. We don't have any big scandals, and that was Howard's vision as to how do we implement this thing. It's new. Remember, it was new. So that was a big success, and I think he earned the right to go try that out in England and go back to his family and friends, and we wish him the best.
Yeah, we wish him the best as supporters of our club. We wish him all the best to go over there, across the pond, and help fix that because we've seen some decisions that pond.
There you go.
Did I say pound?
You said the pound. The pound works though. Although the pound isn't doing so great at the moment, so you're better sticking with the pound.
I thought that was a Southampton
Probably.
accent. No. It wasn't.
Let me ask you guys this.
No, let me ask you one more question before you
One more
go.
question. Okay.
As a student of languages, I know that you speak multiple languages. If you can let our viewers and subscribers know which languages you speak, and how does that help you referee? Because we watch international matches all the time. Like, how are these referees communicating their concepts and how they want to adjudicate the game to players that obviously you don't think speak the same language?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We get that question often. I think about 70 to 80% of what we say is body language, is tone of our voice, is the stance of our eyes, shoulders, how long the whistle is. A lot of it gets communicated that way, but there are moments where you need to talk, right? So generally, if you prepare well, right? I did Italy and England in Poland, one of the quarterfinals. I don't know Italian.
Yeah.
I speak obviously some English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. I don't know Italian, but I knew that for that game there are probably about 8 or 10 words that I need to know.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm going to assume they know English, and I'll give you an example of it. Right, 2019, VAR is still new.
Right.
And they just recently changed the law about the keeper encroaching on penalty kicks. Remember that?
Yep.
Right? Now the keepers need to know, look, here's what I need you to do. And
Just
be very
pointing to the
clear,
line?
be very clear as to what they need to do with their feet, when they can move, and what will happen if they don't. I needed to know that in Italian. Because I'd rather learn those two phrases than having to send off the Italian keeper for a second caution, right, at the quarterfinal of a World Cup. So there's a bit of preparation that you can do, but generally, English works generally. Stop is stop. I think that works in any language,
Yeah.
right? And this, putting your arm out works. But generally, some referees prepare a little bit. So,
But that goes back to what
I don't
You
get
guys
that.
did it.
that goes back to what you said earlier about being a referee and about being a really good referee and about being a great referee is thinking ahead,
Absolutely.
looking at the game, looking at the players, looking at the team, looking at the history, preparing for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are players that when you study, you know that they won't listen to you. It's just not in them. It's just their game mode doesn't involve talking to the referee. You cannot demand from them to talk to you. You have to relay that in some other
And there's
way.
managers as well. I mean, you're not just studying the players. You look at the managers on the touchlines at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's the little box that they're not meant to step outside, that they tend to live out the entire time. But there's managers as well that
Absolutely.
are going to they're going to be constantly at you, or the fourth official, or at the alliance person. It's going to be this constant battle. But preparation. And it has to be key in anything. I do. Going back to what I said earlier, I think a lot of the time that part is missed by the regular fan. They don't realise the referees do all this work. They don't realise that the World Cup, which is kicking off in less than a month, it's not just the different countries, the squads getting ready for it, but it's the referees as well. There's a huge element to that. So that brings me to a question as well. Like, when do the referees, do they speak now? Are they preparing?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
You know, is there like a training camp that you get ready for this?
Yeah. So, like I said, the cycle started about 3.5 years ago, right? Preparation happens in a couple of ways. First way is when you go to a FIFA seminar. It's not a tournament, just a
Right.
seminar, about 10 days or 2 weeks. Training, video sessions, classroom sessions, fitness testing, etc. And we've had several of those in the last 3.5 years. Then there are tournaments. There were the under 17s, the under 20s, the Olympics, Club World Cups, Arab Cup. All of these were opportunities for us again get together, spend 40 days, 30 days, train, get on the same page, and also for our bosses to make their selections, right? And so that's been going on for 3.5 years. I probably spent, I don't know, over 150 days over the last 3.5 years on the road, something related to soccer. So yeah, that's how we prepare, like every other competitor.
Yeah.
You know, as we wind down, I wanted to ask you a personal question. As an Arabic speaker, just what can you really tell us what it really means to you to have this first World Cup in a Arabic speaking country?
It means a lot. It means a lot. I think it's part of something that's been in me, not just because it's in an Arab country, uh, but it's part of that football is the game of the world, right? And I think we've all been excited when it was played for the first time in South Africa, right? So for me, it means a lot because it's just going to be so much fun to see that diversity all descend in a small nation. And the stadiums, I don't know if people realize, the stadiums are 45 minutes apart. So everyone is going to be in the same spot. Not like Brazil where you're there. So it's going to be
Thousands of miles away from each other.
it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting for the fans. We're referees, but we're fans of the game too. So in the few moments where we can have, we can let's just say unwind. We're going to try to enjoy a little bit of that as well. But it's a monumental moment. And I've been to Qatar now many times for seminars and tournaments. They're ready. They're ready.
Well, I hope for your benefit, while South Africa was great, I hope was it the Vuvuzelas or whatever they call it in the crowd, like it sounded like a gang of wasps, like the entire time. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I don't think those are allowed anymore.
I don't think they are after that World Cup. But, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely, guys.
It's been
Thank you.
great.
I hope you enjoy it.
We wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully you get the World Cup final.
That's the goal.
That's the
That's
goal,
right,
right?
that's right.
It wouldn't be any other goal if we didn't go.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Thanks, guys.
yeah. Well, before we leave, I wanted to just share one more story. Like the first time I ever saw you on TV, I think it was Bayern Munich had come over here to play MLS All Stars, and you were the fourth official,
In
and
Portland.
in Portland, and MLS was just fouling Schweinsteiger all over the place, and then Pep Guardiola got up, he got mad, and you kind of walked over there and talked to him. I was like, "Hey, that's Ishmael," but it was you just had the the presence that you could just see it on his face. He respected what you were saying to him, and just from all us people here in Austin, we love seeing you on TV, and
Thank
more
you.
power to you, my friend.
Thank you. Hope to make everyone proud. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.